for that addiction is reduced. To repeat, the concentrated plant proteins are blue, green, and green algae, respectively 54% protein and 52% protein by weight. Nothing comes close to them. Number 2 would be Sun Warrior, rice protein, 85% protein in total. Things like bee pollen, very high in protein. To some level, nuts and seeds, some being higher than others. You can look that scale up. These are all high protein foods. And by the way, anyone that's misleading you out there, telling you that animal protein will somehow afford you better protein than plant-based protein, shame on them and shame on you for being silly enough to listen. Amino acids are amino acids, people. You don't require to slaughter an animal and throw the environment as well as your health off to get protein. That's a myth that they've really conned you on so well that most of you are boxed in on that process. As I was at one point. I understand that brainwashing. Boy, did they do a good job. Well, this is about a parent who has a child who is coughing and wheezing a lot at home. First, find a health professional to check what this is. Today, with asthma on such a rise, I'd be concerned about an asthmatic condition. I know I had that as a child and literally passed away and was revived with asthma when I was 2.5. So we don't want to kid around with that, mess around with that. So find a physician to check that out. Number 2, if it's just a little bit of infection, inflammation, maybe the child is allergic to something. Even healthy foods, out of balance children or adults can be reacting to. So maybe there's something in the diet. The usual suspects, of course, are dairy foods of any type, flour products, even whole grain flour products. These are the common ones that you look for. But there's other things. There may be mold in the house. There may be fungus in the air conditioning and heating ducts. So be very cautious with this. And when all of that is said and done, you can write me back so I can then address what we're dealing with, because wheezing can come from a wide variety of things, and usually they're not great things. The question is about detoxification symptoms, and we jokingly call it here at Hippocrates exorcisms, because there's a wide variety of things that happen, but one I can tell you is that it plays havoc on one's emotion. When you have a bloodstream, which is like a river, and potentially, or should have been, a pristine, clean, pure river, and all at once you start to throw waste and logs in there, it's like polluting the river. And that bloodstream goes through the brain and go through all of the rest of the body, the blood-brain barrier, and makes you have all kinds of symptoms. Everything from fevers to wanting to upchuck to sweating. And I know we see this here on a daily basis at Hippocrates. Now, you cannot mistake that with symptoms of a disease. Not everything is detoxification. I wish it was that easy. So if something is persistent, this is usually the way to tell. That's the time to check yourself with a health professional. If something is very painful, I can assure you that other than temporary discomfort, which may be part and parcel of detoxification, pain is not part of that. Gas is a big part of that may cause temporary discomfort. So make sure you're with somebody that helps to guide you, who's been through this before, or come to a place like Hippocrates. This is what we do and have done very well for more than half a century here. A question about mammograms and dental x-rays. There's not a thinking person who's honest, at least, that will not tell you that x-rays promote cancer. And mammograms, when studied by the University of California, Los Angeles, they show that women who got yearly mammograms from 35 forward on a yearly basis, within a 5-year period, double their chances of breast cancer. Also, mammograms have the notorious reputation of being about 15% false readings. That's why in the allopathic field, there's a major debate whether or not to continue on with the use of mammograms. There's so much money invested into them, though, they're reluctant on pulling the plug and stopping it. Thermography would be a much better route to go with this, but you have to find, like a Duke University, that has effective oncologists and radiologists who are determining, through reading and interpreting these thermography scans, what is right and what's wrong. Number 2, dental x-rays. Let's hope you don't need them on a yearly basis. What you need to always do when you get them is have your dentist make copies for you, so you can carry those on for several years. And I'm not going to say in 10 years they're going to be worth it, but the fact is within that period of time, most dentists are going to be able to work off those x-rays. Make sure they're putting a lot of lead on you, and make sure you're taking things like sea vegetables and freshwater algae in your diets and supplementation. With any form of cancer, viral disease, bacterial disease, fungus or yeast problems, no form of sugar can be eaten. I don't care if it's from a coconut, I don't care if it's from a birch tree in the case of xylitol. These are all sugars. They're just fancy names to give you your fix under different names fooling you. Bottom line is, you can take licorice root, but the licorice candy also has sugar in it. That's probably why you like it. If you know what licorice root tastes like, most of you won't eat it. It's very bitter and doesn't have sugar connected to it. Somebody obviously misread something we wrote. They said, where is a study that shows that sunflower sprouts have the most protein for mankind? Let's rephrase what we have said. After the University of Texas back in the 1970s and the University of California, Los Angeles, medical schools looked at sunflower green sprouts. They said for land-based proteins, they had a complete whole range of protein, all the essential 9 amino acids that the body requires to consume. This is about headaches relating to hormones. A lot of you suffering headaches out there on a consistent basis, it is a hormonally based problem. And if you could find a well-seasoned, bioidentical hormone doctor, one that's been practicing 15, 20, 30 years, she or he can certainly help you adjust that. And we've seen so many people, I've seen hundreds and hundreds over the decades, that have been able to reverse lifelong or long-term migraine headaches. When one freezes a juice or refrigerates a juice, it still breaks down just a little bit slower. What we know is in the raw, fresh green juice, hormones, oxygen, phytonutrients, and enzymes are really what fights the disease, prevents the disease, and also successfully slows down the premature aging process. Due to that, all of those are gone within 15 minutes after you juice them. So freezing would not be an option for that. Some proteins, some vitamins, minor amounts, and certainly all minerals, or a great part of all minerals, will hold up if later that day you drink it. Whey protein is a waste product from the dairy industry. It's one of the other shams out there in the, quote, health food industry. There's plenty of them, let me tell you. If a dairy farmer or a dairy business is caught dumping whey, they're given a major fine since it does not break down well into the environment. So what they did is, God knows when, decades ago, start to put whey in boxes and little containers and tell you that they were great sources of protein. Boy, it saved a lot of money for them and also made a lot of money for them. Avoid it like the plague. There's questions about colonics, which are certainly part of the Hippocrates program. We think properly done by the right people, to the right people, they can expedite the detoxification and elimination process. Make the exorcism, the detox, basically a lot more comfortable. A lot less nausea, headaches, pain, suffering, all the things we don't want to do. But we're not fans of coffee enemas. Coffee enemas are a bit antiquated now. We have to congratulate the nurse in the First World War who wisely used coffee enemas for the lack of anything else that was available. From that, Dr. Gerson, also a fellow German, realized it and very successfully helped to detoxify the liver and organs of people's body in the quest to reverse cancers. But we've learned a lot about coffee and its downsides since then. And what we do know is that something that has a propensity to cause cancer if you drink it, why would we be taking it anally? The use of wheatgrass juice, electrolytes, these are things that are very viable without side effects, but only good effects.